Have you ever looked at the woman you love and felt something shift, something unspoken? Maybe she still says, "I love you." Maybe she still holds your hand. But the way she looks at you, it's different, colder, less in awe, less drawn in, and you can't quite figure out why. You didn't stop caring. You didn't stop showing up. But somewhere along the way, she stopped seeing you as the man she used to admire. Here's the truth that most men never hear until it's too late. Respect isn't something you ask for. It's something you live. And once it's gone, no amount of "I love yous" can bring it back. Every high-value man understands this on a deep, almost instinctive level. Respect doesn't come from flowers or sweet words. It comes from boundaries. It comes from that quiet force that tells the world, "This is who I am, and this is what I won't allow." Women don't respect your words. They respect your backbone. They respect your no more than your yes. They respect the look in your eye when you mean what you say, even when it's uncomfortable. The hard truth, most men don't lose their woman because they stopped loving her. They lose her because slowly they handed over their power piece by piece. A compromise here, a silence there, a moment of self-betrayal they brushed off as keeping the peace. But every time you say yes when your soul says no, every time you laugh at a disrespectful comment just to avoid conflict, every time you apologize for something she did wrong just to keep her close, you shrink and she notices. Not consciously maybe, but deep down she starts to feel it. That she no longer has to earn your presence, that she can push boundaries without consequence. And the man she once looked up to has become the man she can mold. You see, a woman will never fully respect a man who keeps showing up for her after she's crossed the line. She might stay. She might even say she loves you. But love without respect is just comfort in disguise. She'll keep you around for what you give her, but not for who you are. Want to see the truth? Watch how she speaks to you when no one else is listening. Watch how she talks about your dreams. Watch what she says when she's angry, when she's tired, when she's not trying to impress you. That's where her respect or lack of it lives. Respect isn't in the compliments. It's in the consistency of how she treats you when the spotlight is off. And here's where it gets even more real when you reward. Disrespect, you send one loud message. My self-worth depends on your approval. That's not love, that's emotional slavery. And desire can't survive in that cage. Let's be clear, this isn't about being controlling. This isn't about demanding submission. This is about owning your value so completely that anyone who disrespects it can feel they've crossed a line the moment they do. So when she mocks you and you stay silent, when she ghosts you and you come running, when she challenges your manhood and you try to explain it away, you're not being patient. You're being replaceable. Because deep down, every woman is watching to see, will he hold the line when it matters? Or will he fold the moment my love feels uncertain? The moment she senses you'll accept less than you deserve, her admiration dies. Not all at once, but in layers, quietly. And so does attraction. You don't need to yell. You don't need to demand anything. All you need to do is remember who you are and act like it. And if she crosses a boundary, you don't rage. You don't explain. You simply leave the room, the situation, or the relationship if you must. Not out of anger, but out of self-respect. If this message speaks to you, I want you to drop a comment below right now. I choose respect. Because this is where everything changes, not when she changes, but when you do. When you stop tolerating what drains you. When you stop betraying yourself to stay close to someone who doesn't value you. That's when you become the man she can't ignore. That's when you become the man the world starts watching differently. You ready? Here's something most men never truly grasp until it's too late. Women don't test you because they're cruel. They test you because they're wired to feel your foundation. They don't want to destroy you. They want to discover you. Are you rooted or reactive? Are you stable or swayed? Are you a man or a maybe? Because to a woman, a man with no boundaries isn't a mystery. He's a mess. He's not a place to rest. He's a place to survive. And no woman finds safety in a man who can't even stand up for himself. So what happens when you cave to her challenges? When she pokes your values, questions your direction, flirts with disrespect, and you fold just to keep her close? She doesn't feel loved. She feels exposed. Because if you can't protect your dignity, how on earth could you ever protect her? Now here's the question every man should be asking. How do I flip the script? How do I move from being the man she walks over to the man she walks beside? The answer: you create consequences without chaos. You become the man who doesn't yell, doesn't beg, doesn't justify, but also never ever tolerates being disrespected. Not even once. Let me break it down. First, you must learn to recognize disrespect in all its forms. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's silent, subtle, like when she keeps interrupting you mid-sentence, brushing off your opinions, like background noise. Like when she mocks your dreams, the ones you haven't told anyone else, with a smirk. Like when she casually drops her ex's name just to watch your face tighten. Like when she's always texting other men and calls you insecure when you question it. Or when she gives you the silent treatment for hours instead of having a mature conversation like an adult. These aren't harmless habits. They're micro hits to your soul, tiny cuts that add up to emotional bleeding. Now here's where most men get it wrong. They either explode or say nothing. You do neither. You correct it once, calmly, directly, without emotion, not with rage, not with fear, but with absolute clarity. Say it once. Don't speak to me that way again. Then say what happens if it repeats. If it does, I'm done. And if it happens again, you leave. No discussion, no threats. Just a man walking away from what no longer aligns with who he is. When you do this, one of two things happens: she levels up, or she walks. And if she walks good, that's not a loss. That's a release. That's one less parasite feeding on your energy, one step closer to becoming the kind of man who doesn't just earn respect, he commands it. Because this isn't just about women. It's about your entire life. The way your boss treats you, the way your friends speak to you, the way your family handles you. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. And if you don't stand for your standards, you will fall for every situation that threatens them. This isn't ego. This is survival. A man without boundaries burns out. He tries to please everyone until there's nothing left of himself. He becomes resentful, anxious, explosive. Eventually, he either shatters or disappears. But a man who honors himself, he becomes solid. He moves with purpose. He chooses his circle carefully. He builds a life so deeply aligned with who he is that only those who respect it are allowed in. That's not arrogance. That's evolution. So what does this look like in real time? If she flakes on you, you don't chase. If she mocks your beliefs, you don't explain. If she brings drama to your door, you don't answer. You walk away from the table the moment disrespect is served. Not once, every time. And if she wants back in, she comes with consistency, not apologies. Now you might be thinking, but what if I love her? What if I miss her? What if she's the only woman I've ever truly wanted? Here's the bitter medicine. If you're addicted to her attention, it means you're not building anything in your life worth being addicted to. So redirect that obsession. Build your body, because a strong body builds a strong mind. Wake up earlier than feels good. Run when every part of you says rest. Lift until your arms shake. Let that pain teach you who you are. That pain becomes power. That power becomes discipline. And that discipline, it becomes the kind of clarity no woman or storm can take away from you. You've been sitting on that idea for years. That business you dream about when the world is quiet, the one that lights a fire in your chest. Start it. Not tomorrow. Not when you get more ready. Now. Why? Because building something of your own, something that doesn't require anyone's approval, applause, or permission, is how you reclaim your power. Learn a skill that makes you valuable. Not just to women, not just to employers, but to the world. To your future self. To the man in the mirror who's been begging you to stop waiting. And for God's sake, stop numbing your ambition with endless scrolling. You're not a consumer, you're a creator. So create. Write something that terrifies you. Build something that outlives you. Move your body like it's a weapon you're training, not a burden you're dragging. And be alone, not as a victim, but as a warrior in the forge. Alone time isn't loneliness. It's sharpening. It's silence that strengthens. It's the space where real men are made. Read the books you've been avoiding. Study like your life depends on it, because your future does. Take cold showers not to follow a trend, but to remind yourself, I choose discomfort. I choose control. I choose growth. Clean your damn room, not for aesthetics, but for discipline. Organize your finances. Learn where your money leaks. Fix it. Cut off weak friends who gossip, complain, and pull you down into mediocrity. Stop going to places that leave you drained instead of elevated. And above all, create a personal code, a set of principles that you follow with religious precision, not when it's easy, when it's hardest, because that's where integrity is born. Here's the truth most men miss. The moment you stop tolerating disrespect from a woman, you also stop tolerating laziness, excuses, and half-effort in yourself. And that moment, that's when everything changes. You won't need respect anymore. You'll command it, not with volume, but with presence. People will feel it when you walk into a room without a word. They'll see it in your eyes before your mouth even opens. You become the man others either fear or admire, but they never ignore. And one day when the dust has settled and the boy she used to toy with is long gone, she'll see you again. And she won't recognize you. She'll feel it. She'll know she lost access to a version of you that she will never touch again. And that silent realization will haunt her far more than anything you could have ever said. That's how you rise. That's how you become unshakable. Not by being loud, not by begging, but by drawing a line and standing behind it even if you stand alone. Start now, because your time, it's not infinite. Every second you tolerate disrespect is a second you delay your greatness. Don't wait for rock bottom. Build your foundation while you still have breath in your lungs, and never ever reward disrespect again. Now let's talk about something even deeper, guarding your peace. Number 2, and maybe the most important of them all, if there's one thing that will shape the rest of your life as a man, it's this peace. Not money, not status, not women, peace. Peace isn't something you find one lucky day. It's something you build brick by brick and defend like your life depends on it. Because it does. Without peace, you're not living, you're reacting. You wake up every morning already exhausted. Your attention gets pulled in 100 directions. You live in survival mode. You perform for women, for your boss, for family, for friends who wouldn't show up if you broke tomorrow. But there comes a moment, a quiet, piercing moment, when a man realizes his peace is his power. That moment changes everything. Because peace is the state where your decisions aren't impulsive. They're chosen. You don't jump at every insult. You don't defend yourself to doubters. You don't chase people who walk away. And you never ever seek validation that costs your soul. Peace is the ultimate flex. Not the loudest man in the room, the stillest one. The one who doesn't need to speak to be heard. The one who walks in and shifts the temperature with his silence alone. You don't build that kind of energy by accident. You build it on purpose. And when you do, your peace becomes your gravity. Your standards become your shield. And your life becomes your legacy. Most men don't lose their peace in a single moment. They leak it drop by drop, piece by piece. It's in the way they instantly reply to every text like their value depends on response time. It's when they jump into arguments that were never theirs to fight, just to feel heard. It's every time they say yes out of guilt, not alignment. It's those long late-night calls with a woman who doesn't even respect them under the sun. Every time they explain their worth to someone who doesn't care, they leak. And those leaks, they don't just drain your time, they drain your soul. Until one day you wake up and realize you're not who you used to be. You're a hollow shell wearing the memory of a man who once had dreams. Because here's the truth. You cannot build an empire with a scattered mind. You can't lead a relationship with an anxious heart. And you can't command respect when you're constantly seeking refuge from people who would never offer it. How can she feel safe with you if you're never still with yourself? And make no mistake, women feel this instantly. They know when your focus is fractured. They sense when your schedule is a free-for-all. They see when your time isn't sacred, when your energy bends to anyone who demands it. And here's what no one tells you. That doesn't make her love you more. It makes her feel like she's in charge. And deep down, no woman wants to steer the ship. She may test your direction, but she'll never respect a man who needs to be led. So what does it actually mean to guard your peace? It means becoming unavailable to chaos, not out of fear, but as a lifestyle choice. It means treating your mind like sacred ground and refusing to let nonsense track mud through it. Look at your life like an input system. Your phone, your relationships, your habits, your calendar, and ask one powerful question: does this protect or poison my peace? If it poisons it, you cut it. No hesitation, no dramatic exits, just gone. You stop arguing because arguments require you to prove something, and men who are rooted in peace don't explain themselves to noise. You stop chasing because chasing is abandoning the moment to beg for meaning. You stop scrolling mindlessly because every swipe is a silent surrender of your focus. You stop sleeping in because staying in bed when your life is calling is self-betrayal in disguise. And you stop giving everyone access because your energy is not a public utility. Peace isn't just about silence. It's about boundaries without explanations. You say no, and that's it. You leave texts unanswered when they come from people who only reach for you when they're bored. You decline invites to events where gossip is the language and drama is the entertainment. You let them call you arrogant. You let them call you distant. Because deep down they miss the version of you that was always available, the version they could use. Let them miss you. Let them wonder what changed. Let them talk. Because while they're talking, you're building, brick by brick, a life where you choose who gets access. Not a life lived in pursuit of approval from people who don't even like themselves. And when you rise early in the morning, not for trend, not for hustle culture, but because those quiet hours before the world wakes are your fortress, that's when you'll feel it. Peace. Not as a concept, but as a presence. Not as a retreat, but as your baseline. Because peace isn't the absence of chaos, it's your power to never let chaos inside again. You don't read to look intellectual. You read to remind yourself that the universe is vast, and your problems, the ones keeping you up at night, are microscopic in the grand scheme of things. You read to shrink your ego and expand your mind. You read not to impress, but to realign. You walk alone not because you're lonely, but because you've realized that peace walks beside the man who doesn't fear solitude. There's a different kind of strength in the man who can stroll in silence, no phone, no noise, no audience, and not feel empty. Because he knows solitude isn't the absence of love. It's the presence of clarity. You train your body not to flaunt six-pack abs for likes or compliments, but because discipline in the flesh creates discipline in the soul. Lifting iron teaches you what no philosophy book ever could. Resistance builds resilience. And you clean your space not to impress some date who might stop by, but because you know this truth: chaos dies where order lives. And the man who orders his external world commands his internal one. Peace is not a luxury. Peace is not a reward. Peace is power. Because when you own your mind, you own your world. A man who cannot be baited into chaos, a man who doesn't flinch at guilt, drama, urgency, or distraction, that man is dangerous in the best possible way. He's unshakable. He's the still point in a spinning room. He's the one women can't quite explain. Employers can't help but trust friends, admire, and other men study from a distance. Not out of envy, but out of confusion. What is he doing differently? Here's what you must understand, especially when it comes to women. When she creates emotional tension, maybe out of nowhere, she's not trying to destroy you. She's testing your edges. She's leaning into your world to see if it bends. When she starts a random argument, asks questions laced with implication, pulls back her affection just to see your response, she's not being cruel. She's trying to find out if you're real. Do you have a core, or are you just reacting to every poke, every shift in her tone, every emotional wave? Because if every time she pokes you jump, there is no center. There is no strength. Just reaction dressed up as passion, and no woman can surrender to a man who can't hold his own ground. But if you stay calm, if you breathe through the chaos, if you let her confusion bounce off your silence like waves against rock, then something shifts. She doesn't just calm down. She drops in. She recognizes this man doesn't just guard his peace. He makes it sacred. She either rises to your frequency or drifts away, and both outcomes wins. Because the moment you start giving away your peace to keep someone around, you're no longer in a relationship, you're in a slow motion self-erasure. You lose your center, you lose your dignity, and soon you lose her too. Why? Because the man she once loved, he's gone. And what's the point of being loved if staying loved requires you to betray yourself? So if you want to change your life, build a peace so powerful it makes insecure people uncomfortable. A peace so unshakable that people say, "You've changed," and you don't even blink. Let them say it. Let them whisper. Because that peace, it's filtering your life. It pulls the right people in and pushes the wrong ones out without effort, without noise. And here's the twist most men never see coming. The more you live like this, the more the things you once chased, validation, attention, love, respect, they begin to chase you. Why? Because you've become rare. You've become whole. You're no longer broadcasting wounds hoping someone will love you through them. You're standing in wholeness, and that is magnetic. Peace does more than center you. It heals you. It sharpens your vision. It shows you who your real friends are and who's just been feeding off your access. It teaches you how to love without losing yourself. And more than that, it builds a foundation so firm that not even heartbreak, betrayal, failure, or rejection can shake it. So protect that peace like it's sacred gold, because it is. And once you have it, really have it, you'll never trade it for chaos again. Number 3, don't overshare. Yes, you heard that right. Even if she says she wants to know everything about you, she doesn't. Not really. She wants to feel your depth, not drown in it. She wants to discover you, not be handed your entire internal monologue like a tragic manuscript. Because when you open the floodgates, every emotion, every insecurity, every unhealed scar, every overthought dream, you go from being a mystery to being a burden. And here's the hard truth. Women don't fall in love with burdens. They don't fall for projects. They fall for men who know how to carry themselves, men who speak when it counts, and hold back just enough to remain magnetic. Think about it. You've been told your whole life to open up, to be vulnerable, to share more. But let me ask you this. When you poured out your soul, when you confessed your anxieties or broke down about how life's been unfair, did she pull you closer or did something shift? Did you see it? That subtle flicker in her eyes, she didn't say it out loud, but she felt it. You stopped being her rock and started becoming her emotional equal. Now, sure, that sounds noble. Equality, vulnerability, emotional bonding. But here's the brutal truth. When you dump your entire emotional world on her shoulders, she may comfort you, but she won't crave you. Not because she's heartless, but because on a primal level, she wants to lean on you, not become your therapist. There's a sacred distance, a natural tension that must be preserved between a man and a woman, not out of secrecy, not out of coldness, but out of respect for polarity. That space between what she knows and what she still wonders, that's the spark. That's what keeps her intrigued, keeps her guessing, keeps her coming back. Because mystery is magnetic. Mystery is the fire. And when you kill that mystery by over-explaining, oversharing, overexpressing, you don't just kill the tension. You kill the attraction. It's not about being robotic. You're human. You bleed. You doubt. You feel. But the difference between a respected man and a tolerated one is how he carries those feelings. A respected man feels deeply but moves with precision. He doesn't let pain spill into every room he walks into. He doesn't weaponize his trauma to get sympathy. He doesn't crumble under the weight of his past. He integrates it. Quietly. Gracefully. Alone if he must. Because oversharing isn't intimacy, it's pressure. And when you share everything too soon, what you're really doing is creating emotional clutter. She doesn't know what to do with all of it. It overwhelms her. And instead of drawing her closer, it pushes her away. Not because she's cruel, but because you're asking her to carry something you were meant to carry first. You want to know the secret? The most respected men, the ones women remember long after they're gone, rarely speak much about themselves. They don't offer blueprints. They offer presence. They don't seek connection through confession. They create connection through character. They don't try to be understood. They live in a way that commands respect. That kind of presence, that kind of silence. That's what builds true intimacy. Not talking, not dumping, but being. So if you want to change your life, start here. Treat your story like a treasure chest, not a flyer. Let her earn access over time. Let her wonder what fuels you. Let her sit in the silence and decide to lean in, not because you demanded attention, but because you held your ground. And when she asks, answer just enough. Leave space for her to lean in again. You're not hiding. You're preserving polarity. You're building intrigue, the oxygen that keeps desire burning long after the spark has faded. Because in a world of men who over-explain, over-post, overshare, be the man who lives with quiet strength. That's what makes her stay. Not because she knows everything about you, but because she knows she hasn't discovered it all yet. Most men confuse talking with connection. They believe that if they reveal everything up front, every thought, every detail, every piece of their soul, She'll feel closer, safer, and never leave. But here's the paradox that no one warns you about. She doesn't leave because she doesn't know enough. She leaves because you gave her everything too early, too easily, and left her with nothing to discover. You thought openness would make you unforgettable. But what it made you was predictable. And predictability is the enemy of attraction. It's not that she wants games. She wants gravity. She wants tension. She wants mystery, the kind that says, there's more to him than what I see. When that mystery dies, so does the spark. This isn't manipulation. This is mastery, emotional mastery, strategic vulnerability. The kind of openness that comes not from desperation, but from discipline. You're not bottling up your truth, but you're not bleeding it out either. You don't speak just because you feel something. You speak when it serves the moment. You don't share your wounds to get sympathy. You share your journey when it gives context to your strength. You don't reveal your heart to be rescued. You reveal it in pieces, not to be saved, but to be seen. And here's where most men fall off the edge. They try so hard to be relatable, they lose the very edge that made them captivating in the first place. You weren't meant to always be understood. You were meant to be respected. So stop explaining. Stop trying to prove you're just like her. You're not. You're you. You don't need to always relate. You need to radiate. Let her disagree with you. Let her question you. Let her wrestle with your depth. Why? Because that tension, that unknown, that's what keeps her curious. That's what keeps her present. That's what keeps her chasing. Your piece, it's not a group project. It doesn't need group approval. It doesn't need validation from every new voice in the room. And your mission, it's not a community poll. It's not up for editing. It's not a collective brainstorm. Your vision isn't public property. It's yours. So protect it like something sacred. Because when you overshare your insecurities, they don't build closeness. They become ammunition in the wrong hands. And when you speak every time you feel something, you stop being a grounded man and start becoming just another emotional broadcaster constantly airing out his inner weather report. But here's the alternative, and it's powerful. Practice the power of presence. Sit with your discomfort. Journal the thoughts that confuse you. Don't post them. Don't text them. Let your chaos fuel your clarity. Turn your questions into actions. Build a fortress around your emotional world. Not a wall to keep people out, but a gate to make sure only those who earn it get in. And when they do, you don't drown them in your darkness. You let them witness your light. You don't unload. You reveal. You don't collapse. You unfold. You open like a sunrise, slow, intentional, earned, beautiful. And that's what makes you unforgettable. Not by how much you shared, but by how much you carried without needing her to carry it for you. The more you live this way, the more magnetic you become. Because suddenly you're not just a man with a story, you're a man with a center, a man who doesn't chase survival. He navigates life with stillness, with mystery, with quiet strength that says, I don't need to be seen to know who I am. This is how you keep her attention. This is how you keep your edge. This is how you remain respected, not just by her, but in every room you walk into. Now let's talk about the next piece. Number 4, no emotional reactivity. Because here's the truth. Control is not the absence of emotion. It's the presence of mastery. A man who can be emotionally moved like a puppet at someone else's command is a man who hasn't found his anchor yet. Strength isn't about being numb. It's about not being owned by what you feel. It's about seeing the emotional storm inside you and choosing stillness anyway. The world will test you. Women will test you. People will provoke you, not to hurt you, but to see if you fold, to see if your strength is a surface or something rooted deep in your foundation. And when you don't flinch, when you don't lash out, when you don't break into explanation, defense, or chaos, that's when they realize you're built different. The world doesn't just want you to react, it trains you to. From childhood, you're conditioned to respond instantly to notifications, to insults, to tension. And women, they test for reactivity the way a captain tests the sea before setting sail. Not because they're cruel, but because deep down they're searching for stability in a world full of chaos. They want to know, will this man stand firm when everything else shakes? Weak men live in reaction. They're like leaves in the wind, tossed by every gust of emotion, every look, every word. But a man who becomes still in the middle of the storm, that man, he doesn't just survive. He dominates quietly. You've seen it happen. She shifts her tone suddenly. A sarcastic comment cuts deeper than expected. She pulls back emotionally for no clear reason. And your heart, it drops. Your mind scrambles to make sense of it. Your words trip over themselves, trying to fix what you don't even understand. That moment right there, that's emotional reactivity. It's when your entire internal world is tied to her external behavior. And once she senses that control, something subtle but irreversible begins. Respect erodes. Not because she wants to hurt you, but because now she can't trust your center. This isn't about being emotionally numb. It's not about being cold. It's about being sovereign, emotionally sovereign. It's about becoming a man who can feel everything deeply, but is moved by nothing unless he chooses to be. A man who doesn't hand the steering wheel of his peace to anyone else. Imagine this, you're standing in front of her. She's testing you with words, silence, doubt. Your boss is questioning your value. A stranger disrespects you. And instead of defending, explaining, or pleading, you remain still, rooted, present, powerful without making a sound. Women test men for this one reason, to find out if your strength is situational or foundational. And when you pass that test, she doesn't just calm down, she melts. Because in a world filled with men who fold, the one who doesn't blink, he's a revelation. But here's the key, you can't fake it. You can't pretend calm when your soul is screaming inside. You have to earn that stillness. How you start by owning your triggers. The parts of you that flinch when someone pulls away. That panic when approval disappears. That rush to defend when your intentions are misunderstood. You look those parts in the eye and say, you don't lead anymore. You become aware of your impulses. And instead of obeying them, you observe them. That space, the gap between emotion and action. That's the space where kings are born. And the more you practice this, the more everything changes. You start hearing what's beneath her words. You see the patterns behind the chaos. You stop needing the last word. You stop performing for people who don't deserve your energy. Your presence becomes selective. Your attention becomes sacred. And people notice. Those who used to provoke you, they get frustrated. Why? Because they can't control you anymore. Meanwhile, the ones who respect real strength, they draw closer. Because calm attracts clarity. And clarity pulls in everything. Chaos pushes away. You'll talk less, move slower, listen longer. You'll stop reacting to her mood swings, her silence, her tests. Not because you're detached, but because you understand her emotions are hers, not yours to solve, not yours to absorb. You don't need to dive into her waves to prove you care. You just need to be the shore she can crash against and trust won't move. And when you can be that the unshakable center in her storm, she will trust you more than any man she's ever known. Not because you saved her, but because you didn't lose yourself trying to. There's a quiet superpower that separates the average man from the exceptional one. It's not about how loud you speak, how much you earn, or how many followers you have. It's this emotional sovereignty. Because while most men are slaves to their emotions, convinced it's passion or drive, they're really just caught in storms they never learned to navigate. They fight battles that don't matter. They torch bridges out of ego. They chase validation through arguments they can't win just to defend a pride too fragile to grow. But you begin to rise the moment you walk away from chaos like it's beneath you. Because truthfully it is. You don't bite the bait. You don't wrestle in the mud with pigs and call it strength. You move around drama like smoke slipping through fingers, untouchable, unbothered, unfazed. You'll walk into a room where your idea is doubted and meet it with a smile that says, watch me. A friend stabs you in the back, you won't rage. You'll vanish like oxygen removed from a flame, letting their fire die in silence. You'll hear whispers behind your back and say nothing. Because truth doesn't panic. It doesn't need defense. It needs discipline. You'll be ghosted, rejected, passed over, and while other men crumble, you'll rise deliberately, silently, with purpose. That's the essence of emotional non-reactivity. You no longer hand over the wheel of your life just because of feeling knocked. You don't let temporary emotions reroute permanent principles. Instead, you choose your direction, one boundary at a time. And that discipline, it becomes the architecture of your kingdom. Stone by stone, standard by standard, you build a world no chaos can touch. And here's the final law, number 5, always be willing to walk away. Most men don't. They stay in jobs that drain them dry. They cling to relationships that emasculate them. They surround themselves with friends who disrespect their value. Why? Because they're afraid of silence, afraid of starting from zero, afraid of what people might think if they chose themselves over comfort. So they shrink. They laugh when they want to cry. They say it's fine while their soul screams. And little by little they vanish. Not from the world, from themselves. But the man who's ready to walk the moment something violates his soul, he becomes dangerous. Because he doesn't stay out of fear, he stays because it aligns. And when it doesn't, he's gone. Without a speech, without apology, just gone. Especially in relationships, women sense this. They know when you stay out of need versus when you stay, because the connection fuels your mission. The first man she tests, constantly. The second she watches herself. She respects the edge he carries because she knows if she crosses it, she loses access. Not out of punishment, but because he honors himself first. Walking away isn't heartless, it's holy. It says, I love you, but I love my peace more. I value you, but I value the man I'm becoming even more. That kind of detachment isn't cold, it's divine. It's the filter that refines your world. It elevates your circle. It replaces shallow attention with deep alignment. And it whispers a truth that shakes the walls of mediocrity. I'll never sell my soul to be liked. You want to change your life? Then be ready to walk away from anything that makes you question your worth, even if it looks good, even if it once felt like home. Because the moment you choose self-respect over comfort, that's when your real life begins. Not just a better relationship, not just more confidence, an entirely new identity. The old version of you, he's gone. The one who chased approval, the one who folded under pressure, the one who begged to be seen. The man replacing him, he doesn't explain himself, he shows himself. He doesn't beg to be heard, his presence speaks volumes. He doesn't ask for respect, he radiates it. You were never meant to kneel for love. You were born to walk in power quietly, calmly, relentlessly. Because respect isn't something you demand, it's something you design, one decision at a time, one standard at a time, one boundary at a time. So if you felt something awaken in your spirit as you heard this, don't let it fade. Don't scroll to the next video and forget who you're becoming. Lock it in. This isn't the end. This is the beginning of a new era in your life. A version of you that no longer accepts scrap silence or second guessing. And if this message reminded you of who you're truly meant to be, subscribe to the channel. Comment below, I choose respect over validation. Share this with a brother who needs it. Because when you support this movement, you're not just growing a channel. You're helping another man somewhere in the world finally hear what no one ever told him.